Hey everyone, it's Connor here, and welcome back to a very interesting video. I've got a new tool to show you. Now, out of all the tools that I have in the clinic, suction machines and irrigators and hooks and picks and scoops and so on, this is probably the most unusual looking. And what it is, it's called an Earway Pro. And it is basically a spiral, or it's like an open helix type device, which you put into the ear canal, and then you turn it as you advance it deeper and deeper into the ear. And what happens is, as you're turning it, the wax that it's enveloping and spiraling around, the wax will get caught in the flutes of the helix, and then once you've achieved the appropriate depth, then you can gently pull it out, and the wax that's been caught on the inside of the spiral will then be removed in one chunk. That's the theory anyway. So what I'm doing here, now this patient has fairly dark impacted wax, and there's so much of it in there that I'm going to use two devices on this patient. But as you can see, I've just inserted it into the ear canal, and I'm turning it very, very slowly. And usually once you've inserted it into the ear canal and you start advancing it, it normally takes around about 40 to 50 seconds for you to kind of gently achieve the desired depth. And once you're at that depth, you give it a little bit more of a turn, and then you gently pull it out. And most of the time that doesn't hurt the patient. You can see I'm just pulling it out here, and we will recover at least one chunk, the first kind of part of the impaction. There it is. A little bit of olive oil in there. Patient used a little bit of olive oil before visiting the clinic. But as you're inserting it and then you pull it, it very rarely hurts the patient. On the odd occasion you'll get someone who feels a little bit of pressure or discomfort, in which case you stop advancing the device and you simply retrieve it. But just checking with the speculum, and again we've got the second part of the boulder, so to speak, and just checking it with a metal speculum there, which I prefer. And what we're going to do this time is I'm going to go in with a large, which is different coloured. So the large is green and the medium is purple. They also make a small one, which is blue as well. But I'm kind of doing this in reverse order. So, looking back, probably should have started with the large initially, and then maybe dropped down to the medium. But, even when it's used, slightly inappropriately, it still works quite well. So again, just going in with the large to retrieve the final piece. And the trick to using this, what I found is that the best thing that you can do is, before you go in and select a device, just have one more look at the ear canal to make sure that you're choosing the appropriate size. And if you can accommodate a large, then it's best to go for a large, because that will, retrieve more wax in one go. So there's the final piece. Again, caught nicely in the spiral of the device, and then we're going to go in and just check everything with an endoscope. So here we have it, lovely looking ear canal, no bleeding, no laceration, no hematoma, lovely looking eardrum, and it doesn't look pretty in the traditional sense because there's smearings of wax everywhere, but that's actually what we want. We want that kind of remaining slick in there to safeguard the patient against itching and infection and so on. So those are the two devices, and I'll show you the other one as well, the small blue one. And what you'll see is it's actually fairly flexible and bendy and soft, which is what you want, because most ear canals do have a bend, in some fashion, whether it's bending up or to the side and so on. So, and if you want to get the device in there to retrieve most of the wax, then you want the device to bend a little bit and be malleable. So that's the first case. I'm going to show you one more case. And this next case, I'm going to use a combination of the Earway Pro and then suction at the end. So initially what we have here is just this outer layer of wax is actually a little bit hard, a little bit crusty. So what I'm going to do is just very quickly go in and use a large to retrieve that outer crust. And then I'm going to go in and get the deeper stuff with the suction. And generally these devices are good for most cases where you have wax which is in the first 2/3 of the ear canal. It's a little bit more difficult to use when the wax is much deeper near the eardrum, and it's also not great for very soft mushy wax or very runny wax, or again, if you have wax on the drum or in the recesses, then it's not very appropriate. But again, what I'm doing here is saving myself a bit of time, basically, so I don't have to deal with this outer crust. I can just remove it with the large device, and then I can deal with the deeper stuff with the suction. So I'm at the appropriate depth here. I'm just going to give it a little bit of a pull. And again, we're just going to retrieve that outer bit. And there we have it. So what I'm going to do now is drown the ear in olive oil, and then I'm going to go in with a standard Zollner suction probe and then clear up, basically. Just going to check it again with the speculum. There's the remaining debris. And then we're going to use an endoscope for this, so just so we can get the maximum amount of detail possible. So there we go. And again, the sort of liquid and glistening stuff in there is the olive oil. And then it turns out to be a fairly easy case. So, softish wax here, and the olive oil has lubricated the ear canal nicely. There is a little bit of wax kind of stuck in the inferior recess. And again, we're just going to go in. So you would either irrigate that with water, or you would just go in with a fine end like I'm doing here. And like most wax that's trapped in the recess, there's always more than what you think. So it's kind of an iceberg situation here. There we go. So easy stuff. So fine. Lovely looking ear canal, lovely looking eardrum. So there we go. That's the Earway Pro. Is it good? Yes, it is good. It's certainly a tool that's worth having in the clinic at the very least. So in the UK, we have a phrase, horses for courses, which basically means you use the right tool for the right job. So in that last case, the suction was the appropriate tool to get the deep wax. Another time I might use irrigation. Another time I might use a combination of all three. The first case was fine. I could just use the Earway Pro for that. But there's not really a single tool that can do all of it. Suction can just about do all of it sometimes, but again, this device, it looks delightfully gimmicky, I have to say. And when I first saw it, I thought, right, I definitely want one of those because it just looks so weird. But believe it or not, it is actually a very good certified medical device. It's meant to be used by audiologists and doctors. So you can't, unfortunately, you can't buy it off Amazon or anything like that. But there we go. I will, as I use it more and more and gain more experience, I will certainly post more videos about it because it is so interesting. So there we go. I hope you found that entertaining and useful. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comment section below and I will try my very best to get back to you. And of course, I will see you guys on the next video.